Hey everybody, Koricon here, and this is my review of Black Panther. Now this is going to be a spoiler-free review, but I'm going to have a discussion at the end of this review that might get into some spoilers, and I'm not sure yet. So I'll just let you know, spoilers possible, but I wanted to talk about black superheroes in history and underrepresentation, that kind of thing. But this movie is directed by Ryan Coogler and written by Ryan Coogler and Joe Robert Cole, and is starring mostly Chadwick Boseman and Michael B. Jordan as our protagonist and antagonist. And I gotta say, Michael B. Jordan is one of my favorite villains in the Marvel Universe. I also really liked Michael Keaton in Spider-Man Homecoming. And the reason I like both of these villains is because they have relatable stories, backstories. And that is what I think makes a great villain. If the audience can feel like, okay, I understand where they're coming from, but what they're doing is not right. But you feel like you can feel it. You know that what they're doing and why they're doing it. You totally understand it. We also have a huge cast of great actors in this movie. You got Lupita Nyong'o, so good and gorgeous. Oh my gosh, she's great. Danai Gurira was such an awesome character. Give her a spear and she could kick anyone's butt. I loved it. Martin Freeman, Daniel Kaluuya, who was great. He was also really good in Get Out, which I can see why Ryan Coogler would bring him in. Winston Duke, who played a side character as one of the leaders of one of the tribes in Wakanda. And I really liked his character. I liked it a lot. I thought he was great. Sterling Brown, Angela Bassett, Forrest Whitaker. And Forrest Whitaker is one of my favorite characters in the movie. I thought he did a great job, but of course it's Forrest Whitaker. I mean, he usually does a great job in whatever he does. And Andy Serkis playing Claw, which he did in Age of Ultron as well. But we really got to see his character get more flushed out, and he was very intimidating. It's great to see Andy Serkis in person, even though I absolutely love his performance capture characters, but it's good to see that, you know, he can do some stuff where you see his face as well. But another standout for me was T'Challa's sister Shuri, played by Letitia Wright. I love her character. She's younger, but she's this technology genius, and she makes all of the technological stuff that everybody uses. But I love her character is fun. You could tell that she's young, a young sister. She jokes around with T'Challa. You can really feel their relationship as brother and sister, and they do a very good job with that. Chadwick Boseman is a great Black Panther, and he was one of the standouts for me in Civil War. Civil War had a lot of great characters in it, but the two that I loved the most was the introduction of Black Panther and the introduction of the Marvel Universe version of Spider-Man. Those two I thought nailed the characters, and it made me so happy in Civil War to see them. Wakanda was this mythical country in the middle of Africa, and Andy Serkis's character Claw really explained it the best by saying everybody was looking for El Dorado in Central and South America, when actually the whole time it was in Africa. And instead of gold, they were basically sitting on a huge deposit of vibranium. And they used that for creating all of their technology. It's what made them so more technically advanced than any other, civilization on the planet. One of the things I liked about Wakanda in the movie is it was a representation of all of Africa. You know, you had the 5 tribes that were in Wakanda, and each one of them had things that represented cultures all over the continent. with jewelry and costumes and weapons and just all kinds of things that you would see that I would watch in like National Geographic and a lot of my like nature shows and whatnot. Whenever they talk about Africa, you see a tribe that has a specific thing, like the big jewelry in the lips or the rings on the neck, the different kinds of weapons you would see. So a lot of that stuff was represented with all of the different tribes, and it made for an awesome medley, kind of like a a short version of what all of Africa looked like. The basic story of the movie is T'Challa comes back home after Civil War and he becomes king. He inherited from his father, T'Chaka, and Michael B. Jordan is challenging him for the throne. Now, in the movie, we have a lot of great action sequences, just like any other Marvel movie, some great action set pieces. Really like the car chase that you see in the trailer. But some of the hand-to-hand fighting that they did were too many close-ups, and they would jump between great filming and what I consider bad filming. Now, a lot of you guys may know I talk about the SCQ, shaky cam close-ups and quick cuts. Those kind of things can kill an action sequence. I like wider shots, longer edits. I want to be able to see the fight scene. And they did half and half. They would have a wide shot where you got to see the action sequence with the beautiful background, but then they would intercut it with some close-ups and quick cuts of the punching and fighting. And so it seemed like I knew what was going on in the close-ups and quick cuts because of the wide shots that set it up ahead of time. And then they would go back to a wide shot. So they were telling you what was happening in the close-ups and quick cuts, but I would prefer they just had the whole thing as a wide shot. But it does mean you have to have more training with your actors before the movie comes out. So I'm not really sure how much time they had to practice and prepare for those fight scenes. But from a viewer's aspect, I would prefer less close-ups and quick cuts. And then when you had another fight sequence between Killmonger and T'Challa, it was all CGI. And the gravity, whenever you have all CGI characters in a fight sequence, the gravity doesn't feel right. Just the way that the body moves and falls and everything else, it just doesn't quite work, and you can tell it's fake right away. So I wasn't a huge fan of the total CGI fight sequence, but it was still exciting and pretty cool. But it kind of reminded me of some of the Blade movies where the gravity was really off, but not as bad as that. If you watch Blade 3, the CGI fight that they have near the beginning, the gravity is really off. And this one wasn't as bad as that, but it was noticeable. The story moved along pretty well, the pacing, but there were slow scenes. So there were some scenes where I thought went a little too long. I was like, you could have shaved off a bit. I think the movie could have cut about 15 minutes out of it and have been a bit tighter. But overall, it flowed pretty nice, and the story had a full arc in it. It wasn't trying to set up future movies. Like, they weren't adding a bunch of stuff to try and go right into Infinity War. I think we've had enough set up for Infinity War. So it was nice to see a good self-contained storyline. Ryan Coogler is a director that we really need to keep a close eye on because he has done 3 movies now. He did Fruitvale Station, Creed, and now Black Panther. All of them great movies. He's like a new Christopher Nolan. Like, he can't go wrong. I hope his next movie is really good because, a lot of directors, they have a good streak and then they have a bad movie and sometimes they can get into a negative streak. So since Ryan Coogler is a writer on a lot of his films, all of his films, I would love to see him continue that. I don't think that he should direct a movie that someone else writes. And that's one of the things with Christopher Nolan is. He writes all of the movies. He's done one movie that he didn't write, and it was still good, but not as good as the rest of his movies. So I hope Ryan Coogler continues to do movies that he wants to do and he writes, and doesn't become a hired director to direct other films that he didn't write. Overall, I really liked the movie. Directing was on point. Cinematography was great. The sets were gorgeous. I love the huge waterfalls. I'm a sucker for waterfalls. And the costumes were awesome. They spent a lot of time on the jewelry and the costumes and just how everything looks. The technology stuff was really cool. And the pacing and the story was awesome, self-contained. I just wish the pacing for some scenes were shorter. Overall, though, I loved it, and I'm going to give this movie a grade of an A-. The movie was awesome. I highly suggest seeing it. I hope this movie makes a whole bunch of money. I'll find out later today what it did for the weekend. My prediction is 150 million. I'm hoping it gets more than that. Now, I wanted to talk pretty quick about the black representation in superhero films, and I might get into some spoilers. I'm just going to talk and say whatever's on my mind. So I wanted to give you a warning ahead of time. If I do touch on spoilers, this is that moment. So you've been warned. Now, we've had 10 major movies with black superheroes. Now you've got Black Panther. 10 years ago, we had Hancock. Before that, Catwoman, which was a bad movie. I liked Hancock. It's not the greatest movie, but I really liked it. Catwoman was god-awful horrible. Then you had Blade 1 through 3, where Blade 1 and 2 were good movies. 3, not so much. Steel, which was not a great movie. Spawn in 1997, which isn't the greatest movie, and the CGI is pretty bad. It's very dated. But I really liked the movie because I was a huge fan of Spawn. I got in the comics since they first came out. I was collecting them. I have the first 50 in my comic collection over there in another room. I loved Spawn, but it's not the greatest. And then you had Blank Man and Meteor Man, which also are not good movies. But Meteor Man has a special place in my heart as well. When it came out in 1993, I was the perfect age for that kind of film. And I think with the success of Black Panther could set up some really good stuff in Marvel going in the future. Like, we have Miles Morales, which I would love to see in a movie. We have an animated movie coming out, which looks really cool. But I would like to see a good live-action Miles Morales. And I think we're in a good spot for that, because we have a really good Spider-Man right now with Tom Holland, and it would be really easy to set up Miles Morales. So I would love to see him. And also, we're really easily set up for the new Iron Man, which is Riri Williams. I don't know how to quite pronounce her first name, but she's a young black female that took over the Iron Man suit. And I think it's that right time for Tony Stark to either retire or die in Infinity War. And it would be the perfect way of introducing her character. Now, if they take away Tony Stark, they better put her in the Iron Man suit. If they don't, there's going to be a huge nerd outrage. I know I would be pissed. But when you can count the amount of black superhero movies on your hands, that is not a good thing. Especially when you look at white representation in every other superhero movie. Now, this poster right here for Infinity War is a great shorthand of the overall superhero movies. You have 16 white superheroes or played by white actors, and 2 black superheroes, one of them black being Black Panther, the second one a black actress, but she's a green superhero. And then you have the villains, and the villains are all white as well. Now, I don't know all of the actors that are playing the children of Thanos, but I do know one of them is played by the same guy that plays Groot, Teenage Groot, and he's white. So 16-2 for just the heroes, that kind of shows all of the movies. Like, I would guess around 160 superhero movies and only 10 of them being with black superheroes. But I saw some comments. The reason I wanted to talk about this, I wasn't going to before, but I watched this video from Nerdist on Did We Forget About Blade? And of course, no, we didn't forget about Blade. Blade was like a very important superhero movie at the time. Most superhero movies were pretty bad in the late 90s. And then Blade came out of nowhere and was just awesome. But in the comment section of that video, there was this comment that said, how about Hancock? What about Static Shock, which is an animated movie? And then he talks about that. But it's the part at the end. It says, nobody forgot about Blade. People just choose not to mention him or other black superheroes in movies and television so as to raise Black Panther higher. And I was like, no, there's only 10 superhero movies. Having a black superhero is important. You don't need to forget the other 9 to raise Black Panther. Now, I know in a lot of the marketing they said the first Marvel black superhero, and that's not true. But it's still an important movie. I mean, when I went to go see it, you had entire families with grandparents. People were dressing up in their nice clothes to go and watch this movie because it's a huge event. Seeing a black superhero is a huge event. I also work in a retail store as my second job. And there was this kid, probably about 6 or 7 years old, and he bought a Black Panther Lego set. And he was so excited that he could see a superhero that looked like him. And that's the point. It's not just about trying to be equal and get black characters and black actors into movies. That is one thing, yes, you want to do that. But kids have their favorite superheroes because they meet something personal inside of them. For me, my favorites growing up were Wolverine and the Incredible Hulk, because I was bullied a lot when I was in school. And so whenever I got really angry and stressed out, I always wanted to become Hulk and get huge and big and be able to just take them all out. And Wolverine, I wanted the claws to come out so I could go and take out all of the bullies. So those are my heroes. But a lot of these young black kids didn't have a superhero that they could cling on to that looked like them. There's a whole lot of superheroes that look like me. I don't even think about it. But I can imagine if there were no white superheroes, I would feel like, I wanted to see one that represented how I feel and what I look like. So I think, yes, we need a lot more black superheroes. We also need Asian superheroes. We need Indian superheroes. Like, we need superheroes to be a representation of the entire world and not just European American white people. Now, I'm not saying that they should all go away, of course. I'm just saying we need more so it's a proper representation of the planet. So that was my little rant. I don't think I got into any spoilers, but I wanted to warn you anyway. But comment below and let me know your thoughts on this. What did you think about Black Panther? What did you think about the action sequences? Do you agree with me, disagree with me? Let's keep it civil down there, but let's get a discussion going on. And I got a little thing about the Stardust app. I'm really enjoying using it, and I'd like to get other people's videos from Stardust into my videos, so make sure that you tag me. But I need to get 5 new people to download it for me in 30 days for me to become a preferred member, I guess. And then they put me in marketing material and stuff. They call me an influencer. I don't know how much I influence anything, but it's cool to be titled that. And I need 2 more people. So if you download the app and you follow me first, then I end up getting that download, credit for that download. So if that's something you're interested in, please follow me first. Otherwise, don't worry about it. If I don't get on the preferred list, it's not a big deal, but it would be fun. So let me know your thoughts. Here's that thing on Stardust app. And like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends. And I will see you on the next video. Quick promotion, everybody. I'm having fun using the Stardust app, which allows you to make up to a 30-second reaction to movies and TV shows, and I'd love to see your reactions and put them in my videos. If you're interested in that, download the Stardust app. I've got a link to it in the description below, and make sure to follow Koricon. And whenever you make a reaction, make sure that you tag Koricon so that I get notified and can see it. Whenever I make a reaction video or a movie review, and I see your video, I will take clips from it and put them in my video. If you're a YouTuber, make sure to put your YouTube channel name on your reaction if you want free promotion. And if you're a fan of my channel and just want to be in there, great. So tag me on your reactions. And to be totally transparent and honest with you guys, when you download the Stardust app, the first person that you follow gets credit for the download. So if you want to follow me and give me credit, make sure that you follow me first. If you want to give your favorite YouTuber a credit, make sure that you follow them first. But either way, make sure that you follow me at some point and tag me in your reactions so I can get them in the videos.